Hey, look what we have found. A big sound in a small town. Far away from the bright lights. They're making music every night. Discover what is all around. A big sound. A big sound. In a small town. Big sound, small town. A really big sound. Big sound, small town.
You're listening to Big Sound Small Town with Sandy Carlton.
Hello, my name is Kevin Washington. I am a radio host at WNCW FM in Spindale, which of course is on the campus of Isothermal Community College. I've been with WNCW since 2015. It's my 9th year there, but my radio show that I host is called 2021. I've done that for the last 3 years, going on 3 years of that show. It's sort of like a music history nerd's journey into music, sort of like looking through the connections of artists and genres and songs of the 21st and 20th century, hence the name 2021.
Right.
So it's a fun gig, a fun show.
It's a very diverse show too.
Yeah.
While I forget it, I mean the music is just all over. I mean we're not. You get like, okay, you take the guy that does the Friday night thing. Mm-hmm. Well, it's all going to be that Americana music.
Yeah.
Yours though crosses just all genres of music.
Oh yeah, from like one. It's like I divide my show like 3 segments. One segment you might hear just like country or folk or like a soulful blues or something like that, and then another you'll hear R&B and jazz, and then another just straight country. So I go all over the place, but I like that. That's the exciting part.
Well, and that is one of the reasons I enjoy your show. Yeah. You know, it's not a locked in on one thing, which is. You ever listen to WWOZ out of New Orleans? It's got your show has that vibe.
Oh, okay.
That's the New Orleans radio station, and that's what I think of when I hear your show. And I do not hear that in other radio shows that I listen to. You know.
Oh, wow.
Plus, public radio is a great place to work because of what you can do. Because that's not your first place working as a DJ, is it?
No, my first radio job was at my uncle's radio station.
Sure.
WFGN AM, they called it Your Spiritual Friend.
Right.
That was my first job. I actually interned at WFGN right before I graduated college.
Okay.
Because initially when I went to college, I wanted to do TV news, like editing and producing behind the scenes.
Sure.
Yeah, because I'm still pretty shy guy. But that's what I wanted to do. But I was in desperate need for an internship before I graduated.
Right.
So,
I understand.
So I ended up landing in my uncle's radio station and ended up landing me my first radio job, which I did for 7.5 years.
Yeah.
So.
But there again, in that situation, you were kind of locked in. I mean, there is a lot of diversity there. Mm-hmm. I mean, I have a pretty good working knowledge of gospel music. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, that is about as broad as any other field. Mm-hmm. However, you were a little more locked in there than, say, what you are on your own show at WNCW.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I would say that. But I found myself doing what I'm doing now, like trying to spice things up,
right?
Because I was the young one,
right?
I was WFG, and I was the youngest on air.
Well, it's kind of your job. I mean, I guess they also like that flavor a little bit of getting away from the everyday stuff that they played.
Yeah, I played contemporary gospel when I was there, and along with like the Kirk Franklins.
Sure.
And then I also played like the old quartets, and I played a lot of the gospel choirs because 90s gospel had a lot of gospel choirs that combined hip hop and R&B.
Sure.
So that's sort of what I came from when I was working there, and that was fun. Even though I got some suggestions from the listeners to play more quartet, which I wasn't against quartet.
Right.
I was a person that wanted to mix things up. I wanted to have a mixture of everything. So
and I suspect quartet is what they built their whole station on.
Yeah.
And at the time, there still is, but at the time there was an abundance of quartets around.
Mm-hmm.
Not just like with anything, there's not quite as many of them around, and that's because as the old guys go out, the young guys come in, and it takes on a whole different flavor, really.
Yeah,
you know.
Absolutely.
So I'm sure you did get some of that because it's so. I guess you started your life with an early love of music.
Yeah, I did. It's kind of strange because my uncle and I noticed that we shared that love of music, but he noticed that more, of course. I was a kid,
Right.
He gave me a lot of free CDs.
Sure.
When I was
also because they get them. Yeah.
Absolutely, and I thought that was so cool. And because I remember when I was a kid. I'm a kid of the 90s. We had little cassette tapes.
Sure.
And there was a song that I loved, plenty of songs that I loved that I wanted to record. I wore out a lot of blank cassette tapes where you could record it off the radio.
Oh, yeah.
I was so obsessed with that. I got on my parents' nerves with that. And, given that early part of my childhood of loving music, I didn't realize it until I started working in radio.
Right.
Because that was always in me. For some reason, I always thought I'd be a movie filmmaker or something like that.
Something different. Life's funny, though, about how that works,
Yeah.
I guess Eddie Bridges was your uncle who got you started, right?
Yeah, he did.
Okay. Eddie actually was a pioneer radio host, DJ for this area.
Yeah, Andy Foster. I work with Paul Foster, his son.
Yeah, I know Paul.
Yeah, because when I started at WNCW, I got started working under Paul, like shadowing him.
Right.
And learning about Morning Edition, which I fill in for him every now and again. Right. I'm actually filling in for Paul this coming Friday and the following Friday.
Oh, okay.
I do that sometimes when Paul's absent.
Sure.
So, and that's how I got started with. He told me he knew Eddie and he worked with he knew my Uncle Eddie. That his father worked with him. I was like, oh wow,
yeah,
that small world,
His dad had that radio ready voice. Paul Andy did.
Yeah.
He had one of those voices that was just made for radio.
Yeah.
Eddie kind of did too. He had one of those smooth. He had a smooth voice. It just he's easy to listen to. So that is one of the things I have to say. They did have two really when they worked together. They had two really smooth talkers. They had that's some quality stuff.
Yeah, and that was so strange when I started working as a radio host. People kept saying, "You have a smooth radio host." I'm like, me?
yeah, you do.
That always shocked me, but now not so much. Now I'm embracing that because I think knowing that this is really what I was supposed to do. Now I've embraced that.
Well, I like the fact that you have this, and it's. I used to say it's tape likes your voice, but there's no tape anymore. But radio likes your voice. I mean, you have one of those voices that okay, people sound different on the radio than they do when you talk to them in person.
Yeah,
even without doing anything to it, it's just whether the mic or the equipment likes the person, and you have that. Paul has that. Some people have that, and other DJs that we're not going to mention don't have that, and you can tell a difference, So,
wow, I appreciate that. Thank you.
It is. Yeah, it's like your voice was custom made for it. So, all right, now tell me how you go about, say you're getting your show together. Now, I know Mike do. You know, Mike, I guess, works up there.
Yeah.
Mike says, I go in and whatever I decide when I get there is what I do. You know, but I know everybody's not that way. I mean, do you put that together during the week or?
Yes, I do, because other than being a radio host, I also do help out with operations. I'm an operations assistant, so I help with other like technical work behind the scenes at the station. So I'm there throughout the week, but I also take time to plan out my show because I'm that much of a nerd. So I'm gathering up information, you know.
Sure.
What that I'm going to talk about or from when it comes to the artists and the connections that they have, you know, that takes a lot of good research.
Yeah.
Make sure you're getting out the right information.
Right.
And usually, especially when I'm doing like a show that's like a special occasion, like this coming Tuesday, it's like the celebration of Juneteenth.
Right, yeah.
And then, of course, we're in the middle of Black Music Month.
Sure.
So I'm like tying all those things together.
Which this was not planned. It just worked out.
Yeah.
You realize
Oh,
that.
yeah.
But sometimes that's the way, that's the beauty of life. Sometimes it works out like that, you know?
Yeah. And this week I'm sort of diving deep into the connections. I'm trying to remember the artist's name. Sometimes I forget.
Yeah, I do, yeah.
But I do know that I'm diving into the album, the 20th century impact, the 21st century impact of 20th century albums, like the one by the Staple Singers that has I'll Take You There.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, that was fun to do. That's going to be on this Tuesday.
That is a fine song.
Yeah.
Staple Singers, I love them. I have a real love of non-secular music. You know, there's so much good stuff, and yes, you can't do it much better than Staple Singers.
Yeah.
I actually know the guy that played that bass line that is a big part of that, David Hood. Yeah, I mean, I don't see how you can ever go wrong with the Staple Singers.
Oh yeah, and now I'm remembering the first segment. I'm doing like connections, like it's called the 6 Degrees of Separation.
Yeah.
Now that initially started out as like a theme because I was doing like different themes, like flowers, songs that have flowers, the word flower in it, or something that has like the word rain or talking about rain.
Right.
But it ended up when I got to the 6 Degrees of Separation. I'm like, this might be like a good continuum.
Right.
Like, you know, finding like the different connections, like you're going through each rabbit hole. Like, okay, this artist is connected to this song, who's connected to another artist who originally did the song. Then you find out another connection that has nothing to do with music, but they're still connected.
Sure.
So, you know, it's like those. That's so fun. That's why I love this show. That's why,
and that's one of the drawing points to your show.
Yeah.
You know, you do get that, which is there again. You have a very unique radio show that you pick up stuff that you learn stuff when you listen to your show. You hear stuff that you don't hear all the time. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
So. But I could tell that would take work.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It does.
So, you know, it's, but that's a great idea. So for your own personal listening, what do you listen to? Is it as broad as your radio show?
It is, actually. It is. Yeah, because I was that kid. It's like, I like this country song, but I don't want anybody to know that I like it. I like this pop song that was from Madonna, but I don't want anybody to know. But now I'm like, I'm 38. It's like, why do I care what people think that I like? So, no.
Yeah. Mine's pretty diverse too. Yeah. I like music.
Yeah.
So I like a lot of different styles.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's one of the things I have learned over, I don't know, now maybe 300 or so interviews. Music really is a universal language. You know, I mean, you can get people together. They don't even have to speak the same language, but it's something about music itself that is a common denominator. You know, I mean, you know, I think if it has the right groove, everybody loves it. You know, So I mean, you know, it's pretty cool. I also understand, because I actually saw you up here in the Earl Scruggs Center. I understand you have a pretty big background in gospel music.
Yeah. Of course, I worked at WFGN.
Sure, and that would be a lot of it.
Yeah, that's the basis of my gospel background. And trying to think, I think back there was a gospel singing program that I was MC with, who's a gentleman who's a pastor in Gaffney. Yeah. That was a long time ago. I remember being asked, I was like, oh wow. Right. I was so honored to do that, just to be asked, you know, little old me. Well, but it was so fun. It was awesome.
So I guess you do personally know a lot of the gospel singers from the area.
Yes, it's been a while since I've talked to them, since I've been away from WFGN. But it was the Joelites, one of the members of the Joelites. I think it was their program that they asked me to MC in Gaffney, because the Joelites have a lot of younger performers. Right. So
that's like when we were up here. I noticed that the quartet. I can't remember now their names. I had it on the tip of my tongue. You were part of the program.
Yeah, I was one of the panelists. One of the singers was on there, Reverend Billy House. I forgot the name of his group.
Yeah, me too. I can't think of his group, but it's Billy.
Yeah.
Now I noticed at the end of their show, and their band's like second generation. You know, I could tell it was getting more funky as the show progressed. I mean, we started out with pretty much straight up quartet gospel singing, and then, you know, they had it going by the end.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's the new blood, though. That's the next generation. Because you know, as the old heads age out, then their replacements come in with a whole different view. Even though they grew up in the tradition, they also grew up with a lot of access to a lot of music that the older guys did not have access to, or at that point just decided no longer to listen. You know, I mean, there's a lot of, and it is in the new gospel music. You know, there is a lot of hip hop influence in it. You know, from the instrumentation even to the cadence these days. So I mean, you know. But it's all good. Yeah, I guess. I mean, I'm sure there's old heads that hate it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they do.
I mean, that's like bluegrass. Then they change into progressive bluegrass, and the older,
and they call it newgrass too, I think.
Yeah. And then, but the old heads don't like it, you know. But I think they're all adjusting now, pretty good, because the talent's so good.
Yeah,
music talent across the board is great these days.
Yeah. It is, and I see that. And there was the debate about R&B being dead, which it wasn't. No. I think it's just getting adjusted to the way the sound is, and
it always changed without a doubt.
Yeah,
I mean, it is totally, R&B is totally different than it was in the 60s to where it is now. But that's okay. I mean, music has to grow. I mean, I think all music does that. The one that I see that is dying out, though, hard, is we live in North Carolina, shag music's what everybody, which is basically R&B. A lot of it is, but those people aren't learning to do that dance. Young people could care less. Those bands over the years that's done that, from everyone from, say, the Tams to, we'll take even a local band, Ocean Boulevard.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they've all moved their repertoire to more pop, less R&B, which you got to work, and I understand that. But, you know, that is a music genre I think is dying a hard death.
Is that one of the groups, I forgot the name of, it's like leader of the, not, I'm trying to think the name of it. It's a song called "Give Me Just a Little More Time."
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Like the Brooke Benton song.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, but that stuff. The really cool thing we'll go back to R&B is that good stuff is recorded and always available.
It is.
You know, and it is totally different than the new stuff. I mean. Kendrick Lamar. Is he R&B?
He's hip hop.
He is hip hop.
Yeah. But
there is an element of R&B to his stuff.
Yeah.
I mean he is hip hop. I agree with you. But there is a element there, you know.
Yeah. And that started, of course, I would say with Janet Jackson when she teamed up with Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. They sort of like provided like a blueprint of the mixture of that. And then Teddy Riley came out with New Jack Swing.
Yeah.
And then I would say others like follow that example, like Missy Elliott and Timberland, that fusion of funk and R&B and soul and hip hop. And now you see folks like a Kendrick Lamar or somebody who like him with those combinations.
They got that combination. I mean, you're a young kid. You probably hadn't heard that stuff to get the idea that it came, you know, how it came about. But yeah, you're right. That's actually an excellent analogy of that. So I mean, you're right. That is, you know, but it is cool to see how it morphs. Speaking of Jimmy Jam, I got this story. So there's this. You may know this singer. I can't tell the story because I've drawn a blank. But she turned down Jimmy Jam to pursue her own. They offered her a huge contract, and she decided that she didn't want to go that way as a singer. She wanted to do something different.
Was her name Sharon Bryant's?
No, it's hang on. I interviewed her.
Okay.
I'm old. I'm old.
Yeah, because I did a podcast recently last weekend on Janet when she first began working with Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, and that they were writing songs for another artist who turned down some of their material, and they gave it to Janet. I was wondering if that was the same woman.
I'll tell you who it is because I'm going to look my podcast up. But well, while we're on this and while I'm looking for her name, so let's go with black country singers these days. You know, I mean there are
plenty.
You know, and not like there's ever not been though. I mean, you know, it's I mean,
and that's why. The beauty of working at WNCW, I think for me at least, it opened the whole world to me to black country artists.
Right.
That, you know, because you're growing up, you know, only thing you see is, you know, white artists.
Sure, that's all you do.
That's all you see. But learning about Rhiannon Giddens and, of course, learning about others. There's another one that I love, Anna Maskia. I absolutely
love she's great.
Music.
And I know the guy that's her manager.
Oh, wow.
He also manages the Avett Brothers.
Oh, cool.
Reese Palmer is the artist's name.
Oh, okay.
Reese turned them down.
Oh, wow.
And Reese said, she said, everybody told me I made a mistake, and even my mom told me I made a mistake, but she said, that wasn't the vision I had. And she said, I was also like 18 at the time. And she said for a long time I'd have to do demos and all kind of stuff. And I was thinking, I probably made a mistake because they offered a lot of money, and here I am making nothing.
I think I remember when I first learned about Reese Palmer, I think I remember hearing about that story. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great story. And that's what I asked her. I said, who can turn them down? I mean, how could you, particularly at that time, they were as hot as you could be. Who could turn those? I mean, it takes a special person to go, no, I don't want to be rich and famous, I mean, I don't see how but she was, she had her conviction about what she wanted to do. Yeah. So.
And I think she wanted to do more country, but music that fit her style.
Sure. Yeah. I wouldn't have been that strong. I'd taken the money. I played the record, took the money,
Right.
It's like, maybe the record wouldn't have been good, but I'd have said, I got to have that money. Because they offered her a bunch of money. But Reese's really good. She's really talented.
Yeah.
But I don't see how you turn that money down like that.
Yeah.
Strong conviction in what you believe in.
Awesome. And speaking on the topic of country artists, I did an episode on my podcast. I should probably make notes. I host a podcast on Spotify. Also, it appears on Apple Podcasts and Buzzsprout, all the podcasting streaming forums. And it's called VHC, Vibes, History, and Culture. Initially, it started out when I was trying to come up with an idea for a podcast. I failed several failed ideas. One of them was called Cover to Cover, looking at different song covers, and that idea didn't gel. It wasn't until like early last year that I finally found an idea, and I'll stick to it. And then it was after the passing of my grandmother last year on my dad's side, because on my dad's side he's Gullah Geechee, grew up in Edisto, South Carolina, and that idea, because of that heritage, came up with the idea of my first episode on Kumbaya, the Gullah Geechee roots and heritage of the song.
Right.
When people say Kumbaya, there's Kumbaya here, and I learned that it was from like the, I think it's not Fulani people, but I want to say Mende people of West Africa. Right. The language and the dialect, that's where it comes from, which created the song. It was like the enslaved people, they used that song for like the other songs, like Wade in the Water. Sure. They were singing about freedom and having praying to God that they come and rescue them. That's where the roots of that song comes from. And that's was the whole basis of that first episode of my podcast. And then it just grew from there. I remember the second episode I did was interview with Robert Crumbine, who's the executive of the Charlotte Shout Festival. Mm-hmm. And they also do a program in conjunction with Gospel Shout, which is organized by Tom Henchat, who's the gentleman that was sitting next to me at the event in February. He invited Joe Kendrick, who's my program director at WNCW, to do interview and record some performances from this for his Gospel Shout event in April. But that was during our pledge drive week, and Joe, of course, had to be there. But he asked me to go in his place to do it. And that was such an awesome event. Because I'd never been into the United House of Prayer. That was like my first time ever being in a church setting that's like completely different from my upbringing. Right. Yeah. And but the performances were amazing, and I got some great interviews with Tom, able to talk with him about how the program was set up and how it came to be. And then Joe Kendrick has a podcast called Southern Songs and Stories. He used some of the interviews and the performance. Yeah,
that was pretty good. That was one of Joe's better ones, actually.
Yeah, and I'm also using that for my latest podcast. It's out right now. It's called Gospel Shout. It's on my podcast, VHC Vibes, History and Culture. Check it out on Spotify.
There you go.
And I did like a tribute to my Uncle Eddie towards the end of the episode. Right. So it'll, you know, my podcast has also opened up the whole world to me. You know, I'm interviewing folks from New York, you know, sure. You know, as far out as that in San Francisco, you know.
Yeah.
So that's also a fun thing. And that is more expensive than what I'm doing at my radio show. Right. You know, I have more free control, free reign.
Sure, you
to do whatever.
And more time, really. You're not stuck to a short show. I mean, you can dedicate a whole podcast to one thing that you would be just a portion of what you could work into on your radio show.
Absolutely. And now I'm in a point of wanting to do DJing, you know, because my uncle DJ'd. Right. One of the things that surprised me learning about him was he started like a disco night for kids, which my mom and I joked about that. So I was like, but wow, you know, and it sort of inspired me to go into that as well, like being like a DJ for an event. I'm actually DJing my family's reunion next month.
Okay, so, now I got to ask you about that while we're talking about it.
Oh, yeah.
Now, are we talking being a DJ, or are we talking of being an artist?
I will say both, you know, because you're, I will say they're artists too.
I mean, you're going to do old school type DJing?
I wouldn't consider that old school because they had like different technologies. They use their laptops now.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do use your laptops now. But I mean, but it's okay. Then you are into the modern age. I know a DJ here in town who still scratches and spins and all that stuff.
Yeah, I don't have the equipment for that yet. So
in his case, it's every much a show as it is music. You know, right. You know, and he has his own remixes of stuff, and you know, but you're not doing it that way.
Nah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm already got a set playlist in my mind right now. Like I gotta write down the songs I want to play.
That's good. No, that's good though. I like that. That's then that way it becomes about the music and so not so much about you.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's always the way. I mean, don't get me wrong. I used to love to see those old school guys, but it does become about them more so than it does the music.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're kind of like, they know how to work a crowd. You know, they've always knew how to work a crowd. So they were like almost snake oil show, you know. It could be they had a way of a song that you didn't particularly like of making you like it because of something they added or something they take away. But you're just going up with a straight up music mix, right?
Yeah. That I'm thinking right now, how can I present it? I'm thinking like one half I'm probably going to do like a nice mixture, then another half straight dance songs and have everybody on
so
the
they
floor,
can dance.
Like, and then another one is just like easy going while people sitting eating.
Chill,
And then the other one, I think, again, another nice mixture because there's going to be kids, so you have to be mindful of what you play.
Well, you know, those formats like that, you know, there's a whole. Well, you can get you a whole separate job doing just DJing.
Oh, yeah.
Know? I mean,
that's sort of the goal. Yeah.
They're kind of in demand still, you know.
Yeah.
And actually, if you think about it, I mean, I know people who do it, and they do weddings, and they do you know all kind of stuff, and it's cheaper than hiring a band. And you can also get what you want. Where if you hire a band, you don't know what you're going to get sometimes. You know, even if you like the band, then when they come to play, I don't know that song, or you know, but you can select. And if somebody comes up and says, you know, you got something. Yeah, my girl likes this song. Then you can pull it out probably.
Mm-hmm.
So there's it. I hate saying that, making my way playing music a lot, but really that's the way to go.
Oh yeah, I'm excited about it.
You should be. Mary Beth, who Mary Beth Martin, who is her husband is the DJ.
Oh wow,
DJ Wolfman, and he works a lot. You know? So.
Yeah, I should probably reach out to more DJs more. Especially there's one gentleman that he often does the DJ at the Uptown Indigo place because I frequent their events a lot. Yeah, and he's usually there. I should probably reach out to him. I mean, he's a really good one.
I think you can learn a lot from other if they're good people. I mean, some people don't want to share that stuff too. You realize, no, man. I can't let you know about what I do. You do the old school way, go and listen, steal from them. I mean, musicians steal from each other all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, but I would call them musicians too because, you have like the David Guthers and the Calvin Harrises, which their music, I think, especially from my generation, during my 20s, they were on the Billboard charts.
Oh, yeah, they are musicians, I totally agree. Music's a broad thing, too. I try to tell people all the time that if you like music, you don't have to just be a performer. There are hundreds of other things within music that you can do. And I've known people who's gone places to try to be a performer and then wind themselves up as a radio show host, a audio engineer, even a guitar tech or horn tech, just because they wanted to stay involved in music and they found a way to do it, and you're doing it. I mean, as both a radio show host, a podcaster, and a DJ.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's also, you realize too, and this is something, people who love music are every bit as important to music as I am, you are, the guy who's going to be performing across the street tonight. Wow. You got to have listeners. If I try to, everyone that I know that is a fan of music, I always try to tell them, man, without somebody to love this stuff, someone to enjoy listening to it, the rest of us wouldn't even, there would be no us. You got to have, they're important. Listeners are as important as the players themselves.
Absolutely.
Do people reach out to you on your radio station?
Not very often, but I think if it's like a special episode or a special occasion, you probably would.
Yeah.
And it's always great responses.
You do your stuff though live, right? I mean, someone could call
pre-recorded.
It's pre-recorded.
Yeah,
that's the way to go. I mean, then that way you don't have to take call-in requests and stuff like that.
Yeah, they usually email me to comment on how they liked the episode and what they loved about it.
Yeah. That's. I tell Mike D a lot of times if I like his or not. Was you feeling down today? Or,
Right.
So, it's funny. I think what you have going on is about the coolest show that I know around. It's, are you open to, that's another thing too. Are you open to, other ventures? Have you thought about syndicating your radio show?
No, I haven't.
Sending it out to other radio stations that can't hear it, that are, I know you can go, I know that because of the internet, WNCW is worldwide, but, I didn't know if you'd thought about putting your podcast, your podcast too, but it's usually easier to do a radio show, like David Gans, and send it all around because you got something that's pretty unique.
I never thought of it. But I'm also, as you're saying that, I'm thinking about Julian Booker, one of our DJs, because Culture Caravan actually started in-house on WCW, right. And we had another host for that. And when he left that show and we brought in Julian to do that,
right.
It was still mostly WCW. Now that program's all over the world. He's
exactly
in syndication. So
it's a thought, because you have a really unique thing going on that you can find. You can find blues shows. You can find, Tom Pittman's old country classic stuff. You can find stuff like that. Probably lots of NPR type radio stations have those, but yours is not something you run across every day. So,
oh wow,
it's something to consider.
Oh yeah, I definitely gave me something to think about.
Yeah. It's. I think you got markets that it would play well in. Market areas. So, what else we need to know, Kevin?
Well, I'm also a lead volunteer in an organization called Creative Mornings in Charlotte. We just had our June event. It's usually every first Friday, but sometimes we have it on the second in case like a scheduling conflict or something like that. It's every first Friday in the month. We've been at different places over the Queen City. We had an event at the Hamilton. I think it's at the North Carolina Music Factory in Charlotte.
Yeah.
And it's an awesome event. It's an awesome time. Opportunity for like business leaders or those who have like entrepreneurs in town to mix and network with different creators in Charlotte. And that started in 2015. My first time attending those events, I was just a regular attendee, but then I got sucked in because I loved it so much. It was such a fun atmosphere. It was a fun time. And the organizers of the event called Matt Olin and Tim Miner, two terrific guys, amazing guys in the world, but very instrumental in helping with the networking of artists and getting them connected with different business leaders and them being able to find work, being able to, folks who do murals, been able to find a lot of work and be able to do some painting and some artwork in uptown.
Sure, Charlotte, that's awesome because artists of all type, generally all are really creative at what they do, but they're terrible at being able to find their own way around to maximize their potential. I mean, they're really good at what they do, but then they lack on other ends. So it's great that there's something like that.
Yeah, and because of Creative Morning Charlotte, which there are different chapters all over the world. There's like one chapter I think there's a couple of chapters in North Carolina. One of them is Asheville, and there's another chapter in Charleston, South Carolina. But the Charlotte chapter, because of what Tim and Matt had done with that ended up expanding into something else that they do on the side called Charlotte is Creative. And they've been able to work with like different city leaders in Charlotte to develop initiatives and grants, programs, and different initiatives to give money to creators and artists that have some capital to establish their different businesses and stuff like that.
I mean, that's great. I mean, that's a much needed. I mean, that's a really great effort. I can see why you like spending your time there. I mean, they should have that in more places.
Yeah, they should have that here in Shelby.
They should. And I will tell you that Cleveland County is full of talented musicians of every type.
Yeah.
There's no style of music that you can't find here, and they do it well. But they're limited. I mean, most people have to go out of town to play. And we'll just take black artists.
Yeah.
Let's do that. I mean, they have no place to play here in town.
Yeah. And that's, I'm going to be blunt about that that's disconcerting to me.
I mean, I was about it too, and I don't feel bad about bringing that up because I know I've heard this over and over. Yeah, man, I'd love to play Shelby. I could pack Shelby out for what we do, but where? Now it goes, in a lot of ways, well, it totally affects black artists, but the number of places we have to play music in Cleveland County affects all the artists. I mean, there's just not. This town is going to be designated a music-friendly town, and my deal is there's 3 places to play. I mean, all artists have, but black artists have just. There's no place for them to go in Cleveland County.
Yeah, and that I feel like some people are stuck in their ways, not wanting to diversify and being open to diversify in that regard.
Sure.
And just thinking about this, also think about young black folks who would love to see like more jazz and blues and R&B and hip hop artists. Yeah. And also there's some black country artists that they also get some exposure here as well. So
yeah, I mean, and this I know this guy Henry Gilmore. You might know him out of Kings Mountain. Yeah, he's a video artist, but he puts on shows, but he struggles to do it. Struggles to find venues. And that's another very creative individual. But there's no place for it. I mean, Okay, so basically, to possibly, there are 2 black musicians working in this town regularly around this town, and that's about it. Possibly 3. If you count Omar, Omar Porter. But Omar has to go to Charlotte a lot to work. Cornelius Logan, he gets to work a lot. And I mean, it's limited, It really is. And it's a shame. I have no idea, nothing about, I have thought my brain over this since I've lived here is, how do you get, and we'll even go with, there's a bunch of talented Latino artists here. Yeah. No place to play, nobody wants to bring them into their place. I'd love for you to give me an answer. I mean, a solution, I don't know.
I would say this. I think is what I said earlier is about their willingness. There has to be a willingness.
There has to be.
Want to be.
I agree.
To be open, to be more diverse.
Sure.
Especially when it comes to the culture, like arts and music culture.
Sure.
There has to be a willingness to not only invite but embrace.
Sure.
That. It also, especially you want to be considered like a music capital in the region.
I agree.
There has to be actions behind those words.
Sure. Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah. And that for me, that's the frustrating part. It's like, I need y'all to be willing here, Shelby. I need y'all folks there to be, be open to diversify.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to the arts and the culture.
I agree.
Because there's other people in town that would love that.
I agree.
And they won't have to drive like 45 minutes to an hour to Charlotte just to get it.
I agree, just to play. I mean, and they do. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know a bunch of all minority players and they all have to go out of town to play. Mm-hmm. Okay, Nikeo Wallace, but he is. I mean, he works in Charlotte for the most part. So, Malik Maddox, but Malik lives in Denver now. Which does embrace, he gets to play all the time. He lives in Denver, but, so, yeah. Also, okay, and they don't even have this anymore. We'll jump on this. So you take Hollyoak Park. I've been out to gospel singings out there a bunch, but it no longer happens, and I don't know why that is either. I mean, I've been over the years, and at one point they had it going on fairly regular. So why does that even drop away?
I don't know. Maybe I'm gonna guess because of the pandemic. Did it?
Well, that could happen too. Yeah. I mean, that changed a lot of stuff totally around.
Yeah.
I mean, really, it put the artist community almost out of work.
Yeah.
Everyone from booking agents to sound and light to performers.
Yeah.
So it was a tough time.
Oh yeah.
Could be.
That's probably my only guess about what happened with that.
I used to love to go out there because I love that stuff,
Yeah.
But I don't know. I haven't got the answers. I mean, but I don't mind asking the questions. If I had the answers, I would be doing something about it. Yeah. If I knew what to do, I would be doing it.
I don't know if this is the answer or not, but I would say if we had more millennials and Gen Xers, I would say in charge, because it feels like there's an old guard blocking progress.
That's the world these days. I mean, the old guard has the world in the situation that it's in, and a lot of times I wonder how much the younger generations want to be involved,
Yeah.
I mean, because you would seem like at this point, at every size, from here to Washington, that you would have, it would seem like a perfect opportunity for the young people to step forth. But you don't really see them doing that.
There's some that do, but
there are some.
Yeah, but I think it's the feeling like apathy.
It could be apathy.
Yeah, it's like, what's the point? Because it feels like they're going to shut me down anyway.
Right? Am I going to waste my time and my money? Yeah. I think it takes. I think you just have to whittle away at it a little bit at a time. Get some dedicated souls. So I don't know. What else?
Well,
I like that we touched on this subject, because it's a subject that needed to be talked about.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because I'm thinking about cultural shifts and the things that need to happen. Even though I've seen a lot of changes, Shelby, since I was growing up, but there still need work to do and make it a more an inclusive place.
I agree.
In my opinion.
I agree totally. I mean, Shelby has the potential to be a great place.
It does.
And there are by and whole, there are a lot of good people here. But I mean, we can still work on it. But I don't know. So what artists that you know that I need to know about that I don't know about?
Does it matter what genre?
I don't care.
Oh, okay.
I'll listen to anything.
Okay. Well, on my show this coming Tuesday, the 6 Degrees of Separation, one of the artists is Beyonce's younger sister, Solange, I'm gonna have her song on my show. It's sort of like a quasi connection to Raphael Sadiq, who I'm also playing during that first segment. So he produced the song off her album called The Seat at the Table. It's called Cranes in the Sky. Great music. I would say it's like a earthy type of R&B. It's not your traditional R&B, sort of like bluesy, funky, earthy feel to it. Yeah. It's sort of like the vein of a Sade and Erykah Badu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Almost pushing smoother jazz almost.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's totally different basically than what Beyonce does.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know? Which is cool. I have a brother who did completely different music than me, so I you know.
Yeah.
That's cool. I got one for you.
Cool.
Milo Marks. Do you know Milo?
In relation to Miko Marks?
Yeah. I think it's her nephew.
Oh.
So
I'm also playing her this summer today.
Her stuff's good. I've seen her a couple of times. I'm hoping when with the Earl Scruggs Festival, I'm hoping to get to interview her. She's going to be there. She always has herself such a good band too. She's one of my favorites. But she's got a cousin, niece.
Okay.
So you have to look her up.
Milo Marks.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and she's okay. She's not as talented, but she's, but
right.
But she's also young.
Yeah.
People evolve. Roland Deerdoff, his daughter has a band that is emerging, and they're pretty talented. And I think with some playing time, good stuff may happen for them too. Wilder Flower. So, but yeah, I always like to find musicians and music that I don't know about of any type. I guess of any type. I mean, there might be something I don't like. I don't know. I'm open though to listening.
Yeah.
Well, I thank you for coming down. This is to do this.
Yeah.
Well, you don't really have to come down. I would put that in my mind that you're coming from the radio station for some reason. But I do appreciate you coming and doing this today.
Absolutely. I have fun. Thank you
it's
for
fun,
inviting
man.
me.
Well, people like to hear musicians talk about music, and I like to talk about music and issues with musicians. So this is cool. Thank you.
Thank you.